Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the Political Brown Kid here. And I want to do this quick video. Hopefully, it's going to be quicker. Notice nothing about me is quick. I'm very long winded, but I'm going to try to make this as short as possible. I'm going to do this video in regards to just Black people in health as it comes to relationships and dating. Again, I'm newly single, so I had to kind of step into the realization. When I say newly single, within the past few years, um, just stepping back onto the dating scene, and you really have to have yourself together. When you're in your 40s, I'm in my early 40s, you start getting into particular professions, especially if you start getting into relationships, you get comfortable with, who you are. You think that you don't have to impress anyone, but you really have to continually work on yourself. And it's not just, it's first and foremost, it's for your health. But second of all, it's just you shouldn't disrespect your partner in the manner that you think that you can let yourself go just because now you have somebody and then you get comfortable with that individual. You should always want to work to be the best you can be. And, we can touch on and it goes way past the physical. You want to work on your personality. You want to treat your partner, with a particular type of customer service, so to speak. You want to make sure that they're happy, emotionally, intimately, so all the way around. But I'm just going to touch on the physical part of this for this conversation. And when you look at Black individuals, you can see that our group, we suffer from high obesity. There's a lot of obesity, not just in Black women, it's in Black men too. Black men, there's a lot of obesity in us as well. So, and trust me, when I'm out here on the dating scene, there's expectations. You have a lot of heavy set women that want strong, muscular men. They don't want men built like them, big and fluffy. They want a strong, muscular man. Lizzo's a prime example of this. She preaches body positivity, but yet she won't date anybody that looks like her. When you look at men, think just because they have money and that they're successful professionally and can provide for a woman and, do all of the quote unquote manly duties, that they can come heavy set and expect to get a petite woman because of your money and your status. So what men are going to steadily learn is that a lot of these women, now that they're able to provide for themselves, they're looking for eye candy. They're like, I don't need you to provide for me. What I need is a man that can keep up with me from a stamina perspective, and from, I want to have some eye candy on my arm, because now we're in a hyper visual society due to social media. They want to be able to post living a good life, and they want to be able to post glamorous pictures with a glamorous person. So I'm going to insert a video right at this point right here. It's just an excerpt from the movie My Name is Dolomite. I thought this was fantastic. If you haven't checked it out, it's on Netflix. I think it was one of Eddie Murphy's best works. I think it's one of Wesley Snipes' best works. I thought he stole the show. And in this scene right here, Wesley Snipes, who's playing Dolomite, and Eddie Murphy is playing Dolomite. And Wesley Snipes is playing, I forget the guy's name, but he was in Rosemary's Baby. He was the elevator operator, but he was also in Dolomite's first movie. I forgot the guy's name, but Wesley Snipes is playing this character. Wesley Snipes' character approaches Eddie Murphy's character, Dolomite, because he notices that Dolomite has hired an all-white, young, white crew to film their first movie. So Wesley Snipes has some concerns, and I want you to check this out, and I'm going to show you how this ties into the conversation. So now that you've checked that out, as you can see, and this is very important, and also I'm going to plug in some things that individuals should read here. It's called, one book that I like is by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, How to Eat to Live. But there's a video online from Dr. Sebi. I love Dr. Sebi. He did a video. It's called The Carbon Papers. And people need to check that out because it's talking about a part of it. And there's other books too. And there's another book that I just forget, and I used to always get these books, but it's always talking about the makeup and composition of the Black race because we are heavily carbonated beings. That's how we have gotten to our genetic features, and that's how we look the way we look, and it goes deeper than that down to a molecular level, but we are heavily carbonated individuals. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because of this. If you checked out what Wesley Snipes' character said to Eddie Murphy's character, Dolomite, he's saying, there's a particular, white people can't film Black people the way that they film white people. And that's very true. That's why you always used to hear, you don't hear it today, but you used to hear it back in the day, like models, you have to film Black people with a lot of light. It was, they have to take certain measures when they're filming Black people, and taking pictures of Black people. That people probably don't realize this is when the iPhone first developed facial recognition products, and this is a true fact. When facial recognition was used to first unlock and lock phones, it was revolutionary. But then Black people started realizing, hey, I can't use this tool. It didn't recognize my face because they were too dark. So they had issues locking and unlocking phones because the individuals who created it naturally assumed, and this is why you always have to do quality assurance testing, and you just can't use a particular person. You have to use Asian people, Black people. You have to use various different people because they only assume that, okay, well, we can unlock the phones with the white people. It's a success. And they probably didn't go into it particularly thinking white people, but they just used the white subject because what they were used to. But just going back to this clip is that Wesley Snipes is basically saying, you can't treat Black people like you treat white people. We are different. And that's what Black people aren't understanding in this country. I'm tying it into why our health is so bad. And this is just, once again, I'm not a doctor. This is just my personal opinion, how it ties into your carbon being. As Wesley Snipes' character says, Black people absorb light. We not only just absorb light, we absorb everything. That's what dark matter does. Go check out when you talk to a scientist. When you hear scientists talking about black holes in space, what are they saying? It sucks up light throughout the universe. Anything that it captures, it just absorbs and it just takes it in. And no one knows what's happening to it once it goes into the black hole. They're like, once you're in that black hole, you're in there and you're not getting out. When you look at black material, if you ever take activated charcoal, and this is a true fact, you can Google this as well. What they used to do, and I forgot who used to do it. I think it was called absinthe. Is some kind of drink or some kind of poison. But what they used to do, they discovered that activated charcoal, because of its dark composition, attracts minerals, and it causes like negative and toxic stuff to stick to it. So what the guy was doing to prove his point was he would consume activated charcoal and then consume, I guess, some toxic poisons to prove that by taking the activated charcoal, when you consume poisons, they would interact or bind to the activated charcoal. Therefore, you would be protected if you consume something toxic. And this is a true story as well. You can Google and look this up. So I'm basically saying all that to say this too. Oh, and let me make this other point before I go on. Also, too, it's when you hear doctors are basically erroneous. They're right, but they're right for the wrong reason. It's kind of like doing a math problem and saying 2x plus 2 equals whatever and coming to the right conclusion, but you worked out the steps wrong. Or doing a math problem, you're working the steps wrong, but getting the right answer. So you just got lucky. When doctors keep telling black people, when they refer to the sun and always suntan lotion, they always tell, white people, you need to wear your suntan lotion. And then you'll hear some doctors say, well, black people, you don't really need suntan lotion because you already have your natural suntan lotion. You have your own SPF 660. Yeah, they're true that we don't need suntan lotion, probably not unless you plan on being outside super long, because eventually you will get burned. But they're wrong. Black people absorb light and we absorb heat. The difference is we are able to absorb more heat than whites. So the reason why whites are getting sunburn is because of this. It's because when the sun and the neutrinos from the sun, you can look up neutrinos, when the sun and the rays from the sun, the neutrinos are coming down and they're beating down and radiating on your skin. White people's skin, they're absorbing it, but they can only absorb it so much. And it's like a sponge. And if you have that sponge and you put too much water into it, eventually it just spills over. It can't hold the water anymore. So what white people's body is doing is it's absorbing as much sun as it can. And then after a while, it says my body's just overloading. It can't handle it anymore. So therefore, now my body's just getting burned because it's being overwhelmed with the sun rays. Whereas with black individuals, you're absorbing the sun and you just keep absorbing. You're like your skin is like a bigger sponge because you have more carbon, more melanin inside of your body. So it's not that you're reflecting sun and you have an SPF. It's you have the ability to absorb more of its contents. Now, the reason why I'm focusing on absorption is because this is important. There was one black female doctor, and I remember reading this I was on YouTube. YouTube has been around for a while, right? So this was probably about maybe 8 years ago. So I don't know who the female was, but she had an hypothesis that the reason why blacks were catching HIV at a higher rate than whites is because the HIV easily binds to our body as opposed to binding to white bodies. And my thing is, I can possibly believe that because once again, and I'm going to use this final example. I'm going to try to keep this final example here with this one that I'm going about to say is that when I was in school, I remember when our teacher was talking about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and they were talking about when the bombs got dropped. Maybe our teacher was wrong, but this is what our teacher told us, and this is what we were taught, that the people who wore light-colored clothing did not get damaged as much as the people wearing darker colored clothing. Now, I'm not trying to say they didn't get damaged. They got damaged. But the people who were wearing darker colored clothing, when the bombs dropped, the heat was so intense that the dark colored clothing absorbed it and it melted and binded with the individual's skin. As opposed to individuals wearing lighter clothes, it reflected more of it. So it did not bind to their skin. This is what we were told. So I'm tying that in with the hypothesis of the black female doctor who stated why we were getting HIV more, and also why you see black people have a lot of higher hypertension. What I mean by that is high blood pressure. When you're talking about diabetes, pre-diabetes, and just general overweightness, is because when you consume things, more of the contents of what you're consuming is binding more to your molecular structure than it is to whites. They're easily able to pass off, the sodium that they're consuming, or whether it's, the bad cholesterols and all of this other stuff. As Dr. Sebi said before too, he said, you don't feed a gorilla a polar bear's diet and vice versa. They're two different distinct animals. You have been taken away from your continent. You have been taken away from your culture. So you do things differently here in America and throughout the diaspora. And then you wonder why you're sicker than other individuals because you've gotten away from your diet. So when you look at individuals today, they need to be cognizant and aware of just your molecular structure, how you consume things, how things are going to easily bind to you more so than they are going to bind to others. So again, I'm not trying to say blacks are better than whites or whites are better than blacks, but in certain areas, there are going to be pros and cons benefits. The pros and cons, or the pro for being black is, and I'm just one of many, is that you're able to go out into the sun and stay out in the sun longer. You have a lot more melanin in your body. You have a lot more carbon and minerals in your body. Now, the con is going to be you got to be extra more careful with your diet. White people can consume other things and it not bind to their molecular structure as it will bind to yours. And so that is why you see so many of us walking around obese, and I'm one of them. I am one of them. I've dropped some weight, not a lot, but I'm trying to make moves in that area, but you have to work harder. It's just like some kids have to work harder at certain subjects than others. Certain people have to work harder at certain sports than others. But, life isn't fair. Life isn't all the way around where everything is on a level playing ground. So you have to understand that you have to take better care of your body. So you have to not only probably exercise more, but you're probably going to have to watch what you eat more so than someone else. So that's all I just wanted to drop on you. Once again, this is the Political Brown Kid. And again, if you have not seen Dolomite on Netflix with Eddie Murphy. It's a couple of years old right by now, and definitely with Wesley Snipes in it. There's other Mike Epps is in it. Um, a lot of good people in the movie. Definitely check it out. And if you have any comments, please leave some comments. Also, like and subscribe. Once again, this is the Political Brown Kid. Take care.